Welcome, everybody, back to Bourbon Over Baseball with your host, Bob, and co-host Jeff and Matt. Say hello, everybody.
Yo.
How's it going?
We're back again recording another AL Central team. If you're listening, this is Wednesday, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the series, and you're going to keep hearing more content. And if there's anything you guys want to hear or see or do, let us know. You can follow us on the blog or on Twitter. The Twitter, I'm at Bob Bumbarger. Jeff, what's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, my name is Thanos Snappers, but my handle is at Doug Brocale 2000.
Which should be interesting, definitely for this podcast. And then Matt, what do you got over there?
I'm at MLB Showdown Cup.
So these are great if you're a Twitter fan. We have a lot of content on there, and there's a lot of stuff going back and forth, including leagues that people play on the Discord. If you want any of that information, get in touch with Matt. He's always helpful and welcoming on that. With that, if we can play the next team.
Ball team, go get 'em, Tiger! World Series bound and picking up steam.
Some of these theme songs are just so rough. If you couldn't understand that jingle, it's the Tigers that we're doing today.
Yeah, that was recorded in 2017. Kind of surprising. So you can believe it.
Should have had a Joe Exotic song on there.
Oh man. If anybody is listening in the future, Tiger King is popular right now on Netflix.
Right. This is why we're doing this podcast, actually.
And we're still under quarantine in Ohio.
Right. Oh my God.
So next, we'll just start it right away. We got Brad Ausmus, which gets drafted a lot. He's actually a pretty decently cheap catcher with a good arm and a good on base. Nothing crazy chart wise, but 3 outs. He's pretty damn solid.
No, this card rocks. There's nothing wrong with it for 240.
Yeah, that's a guy that if you're spending somewhere else, that's a good catcher to have with the defense. It's still getting on base.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like the decent arm with still an 8, but like under 300 seems like a good. And he's got actually decent chart. 16 gets him on second almost. So
yeah, right. 1 to 3 out. That's not terrible. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I really like him as a catcher. And I'm trying to think, we just did the White Sox last. And I feel like the Tigers are going to have a much better team, at least especially when we get to the pennant run. So it'll be interesting to see. Next up, Frank
Catalanato.
Thank you.
Fun story. I got this was the last card I needed to complete the 2000 set.
Really?
Yeah, it took me like 2 months to find them because that was before like eBay and stuff.
I don't remember what my 2000 last card I needed was because I think I got a bulk shipment that like filled it. But I do know, and Jeff knows this, the 2000 pennant, forever I could not get Chuck Finley from the Indians. And Jeff was kind enough to gift me that one day. And now I have a Chuck Finley Indians pennant run. So now that's my whole set. But that's a tough name too. That's probably why you couldn't find him.
Yeah, right.
Average card, not too great. I don't like him for 7.
No.
I almost rather have Brad Ausmus.
Right.
God, yeah.
Yeah, this guy should be on the Twins with all that utility,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
He's a great bench player, I guess.
Right, that's true. I mean, other than that, I'm with you. I think it's funny. It's like the complete opposite of Ausmus because I feel like for 240, I'm like, man, there's every part of this I love, and this guy for 250, there's nothing I like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's amazing.
Next up, Tony the Tiger, Tony Clark. Nothing amazing here, but he's an 8. Hits the ball. He's all right.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty average 8. I feel like.
Yeah. First base so tough too.
Yeah.
There's so many good first basemen.
Right.
I would rather go. Who I like is Travis Lee for the Diamondbacks first base. He's like an speed 7, I think. He's pretty solid.
Right.
This just doesn't really impress me for 300. Devi Cruz, the reason you're drafting this guy is to get the +5 shortstop. That's what I've seen in my drafts.
Yep.
But other than that, not a good card. He's got a pretty big single range. Double range is okay, but he's a 6.
I'm just like pointing. How is like this is that whole argument we had, or not argument, but just like any speed C's with like a single plus. Like how is he a speed C with a shortstop +5? Like it just doesn't super add up. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was like one of those things where like that the players association was like he made a crazy play and like they gave him the +5 and not actually looked at his like total zone rating.
Right.
And they probably said he probably had no errors, but he only covered like a tiny range. That always ticked me off when they would do that, because they would say that, well, the guy had no errors, but he only could move 5 feet, so of course he didn't have an error because he couldn't even get to that one ball. But some of these shortstops get to that ball and then they got an error and they actually get hurt for that, but he actually stopped it.
Right, that's true.
So you got like totals. I think it's like UZR or TZR. It's like total zone rating or total zone range or something, or ultimate zone range. It's actually a really good statistic.
So this guy got every ball that came to him.
That's my guess, but he couldn't move very far.
Right, he moved maybe 2 or 3 feet each side.
Or he didn't hustle, according to Manny Machado, when he was rounding the bases.
That's great.
Next up, Damon Easley. Actually, I seen this guy too. Not the best second baseman. For 240, you get an 8.
How is this guy comparable to Will Clark?
Tony Clark.
Tony Clark, excuse me. Like what? He's 60 points less. He has a slightly worse chart. I mean, slightly. He has more outs.
I think it's the outs and the power.
And my guess also is second base goes to a +5 and he's a +2, whereas first base goes to a +1 in 2000.
I'm into this card though. I mean, I don't love the 1 to 5 out, but I'm not like I don't hate this card by any means for 240.
I mean, for 240, that's what you're kind of getting. But I think people like try to make up their defense in second and short, and that's where you might get hurt from someone like this. Is he wearing a hoodie underneath his?
I want to say like do-rag.
Yeah, maybe it's a
or a
do-rag.
skull cap or something.
Yeah, I've been trying to pay attention for any fun things like that. I haven't seen any so far. And side note, I think I need to double check this, so I'll do this. But I have I was curious one day, and I did like a team totals by each season, just based on like how good or bad the team was. And so if this is the right year, which I'm pretty sure it is, the Braves were the best team. And the Twins, surprisingly, were not the lowest team, even though they were the worst team. And looking at this, the Tigers are definitely in the bottom third. And I feel like that's already kind of somewhat consistent with what we're seeing with a team that, we look at and say, yeah, it's not bad, but it's definitely wasn't good enough to actually, output a ton of wins.
A lot of average players.
Right.
Like 240, 220, like it just keeps popping up.
They don't.
But some of them are value. Like I would take a 248. Like that's a good.
Like I think if you took Damian Easley, he's like you want him as like your 7th hitter. Like he's hitting later.
Yeah, but then you have to take a +5 +5 shortstop +3.
Yeah.
So we'll cover more of these, but like if you think about on the Twins had Radke and had the other guy who didn't deserve the hype,
Eric Milton.
Right.
Did you see that comment on the YouTube channel? That guy was like, Eric Milton like killed me.
Right. He's a stud. But those guys were like over 500 points, right? Like or around that range.
Yeah. 530 was Milton.
If I'm not counting pennant run, the highest point player on this team is 340.
Yeah.
The
pennant run is Juan Gonzalez, and that's it.
Right, and then that's the thing is that when all of a sudden you go to pennant run, you've got a 370 point player and then a 520. Yep. So there's literally no 400 point player on this team.
Yep.
They made some good off-season moves, I guess.
Yeah, apparently.
This also bugs me, and it's kind of random. But why would you call it pennant run if it reflects the off-season moves when they always call that the hot stove?
Yeah.
Well, I think they were releasing it during the pennant run.
Right.
It was getting released mid-season.
Yeah, because these cards were made before the season started.
Yeah. It just always bugged me because I'm like, why don't you just call it like hot stove? Then you can do like a mid-season like traded players one that's called pennant run.
Yeah. Or trading deadline.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention. I barely pay attention to the 2002 through 5 sets, but trading deadline was the same concept, right?
Yeah,
they were dropping it. That doesn't really make a ton of sense, but I guess it's last year's trading deadline released during this year's trading deadline.
Right.
So
next up, Juan Encarnacion. little interesting picture here. But I guess the only reason you're getting this guy is because he's an A speed +2, but 220 is a lot for.
Yeah.
But again, big chart for a 6.
Fun chart if you get it. But
Yeah.
Right, doubles at 12 and just 1 to 5 out is
But
not
look at
great
that
though.
huge triple or a huge single plus range.
yeah, it's
8.
four single pluses.
Yeah, that's huge. That's actually pretty. Like if I got this card in a blind draft, I'd be pretty pumped. But
So
I don't want him.
No, like this is like a card made for so for everybody who doesn't know, we have a guy in our league named Dom who won our World Series last year on some pretty good rolls, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was on the losing end of that. But he had a solid team of a bunch of just 6s who could just go crazy if they got the chart, and they always did. And I feel like this guy is built for that team.
Oh yeah.
Like built for that. And he's good, speed A, and his outfield is +2. Like I'm into that.
Yeah,
I'm all into that.
I don't want to I don't want this guy on my team, but like if he like fell to me somehow, I wouldn't be like really upset.
Right, but think about like what's Javi Baez? Like he's a on base 7.
Though.
But how many points? He's
Like
about 3.
400 something.
So think about it. You're dropping 1 on base, probably getting probably the similar chart.
No,
Speed
I think
A.
Javi's is like really big.
But that's the thing is that if you kind of compare that, I know those are way different years, and one of them we made and one of them we didn't. But it's like it's not crazy to like fathom. I'm with you. I would never pick this guy, but if I got him, I would be super psyched about if it was like a blind draft situation, or if I just like if I got him through like opening packs or something, and I was building a team, I might slide him in, especially without outfield defense. Honestly, I probably would.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think you're gonna be upset, but you're not like raving about it.
Right.
Javi Baez in this last season that we did, 370. He's a 7, B speed 19, so basically the same, +5 shortstop, which is really good. Only 3 outs. He doubles at 9. No single plus.
Yeah,
He's got a 15 home run range. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But
But the guy who would always get the advantage with him would never roll
Yeah.
15s.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
he had bad rolls.
Oh, he has bad rolls.
Next up, this is one of my favorite guys to play
Love
against. Is
it.
Kareem Garcia. I don't remember if you know this, Jeff, but one of those blind drafts we were doing, those drinking tournaments that we did. AJ got this guy and benched him, and then when he saw he was playing my team, which I think I like Bartolo Colon is like my number 1, he's like throwing him in or something.
Oh
He
my
hit
God.
like 3 home runs off me in like 2 games or something. I would give this guy the advantage all the time, and he's a 13 home run. 13.
I'm just
And
saying.
that's so much fun to have a guy like that. Like if you do the bench thing with a 1/5 price,
Yep.
like what is he, 40 points then?
Yeah.
And you throw him on your bench, and if you face a 3 controller less, like you
Oh
toss
my
that
God.
guy out there.
Well, and
Yeah.
in the blind draft drinking tournaments, you just draft a bench of 5 people.
Right.
And so he had this guy on his bench, and then when he saw that he was playing me, he put him in a starting lineup because he's like he could get the advantage.
Dude,
And he did.
and I feel like this card has now just been like completely like this card will never leave your mind.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I mean? Like this card has been like branded
'Cause
on you.
It was like him, Brant Brown, and like Todd Hundley, or not Todd Hundley,
No.
Todd Green.
Yeah.
And those 3, I loved them, even though you could never really
Oh.
use them. And Richie Sexton's in there too.
Yeah, but he's a
Like-
6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, if you ever did get a chance with them, like it would be so much
But
fun.
I mean, the crazy thing about, for only 200 points here, he's got a fielding plus, average speed, only 1 to 2 out, no ground ball range, and then
Yeah.
just chart.
Right. No double. Like which is just so in 2 triples. It's so
Yeah.
bizarre.
What
And,
did
like-
what did he do that year,
yeah,
Matt?
I'm gonna pull the stats up.
Yeah, while he's doing that, like I feel like we talk about blind drafts and like Bob, do you want to kind of break it down to be like what is
Oh yeah,
a
real
blind
quickly,
draft?
I guess.
Someone
So we
doesn't
just have
know.
a box full of cards. Usually it's a certain year, and everyone around a table picks in a row. So 1 pick at a time, and you try to you pick and you fill a spot in your team. If you did not fill that spot or that spot was already taken, that card to get discarded. And you keep picking until you fill a spot, and usually you set your rules. 8 position players plus a DH, and then you have like 4 starting pitchers. Then we do 1 reliever, 1 closer, and 5 bench. And your 5 bench could be anybody that you end up getting. So if you get 5 extra relievers, those go to your bench, and you can't get anybody else. If you get a couple catchers, I've seen people get 3 or 4 catchers, and they have all on their bench. So in this case, Kareem Garcia went to the guy's bench because he had already had a left field, right fielder, or two of them, and then eventually was able to slot him in. So it was a lot of fun. And then we do drinking rules usually while we play. So,
Yeah, and you're usually like, I can tell you just from experience, I've done a bunch of them and I love them. You're like honestly hoping to get like some players like this here and there, because I'm telling you, when you keep picking up 10s and 20s and 50-point players, like it's devastating. And like, of course, you want those big batters, but we've noticed that like in blind draft like scenarios that like the teams that are like consistently between like 200 and 400 points or somewhere around like in the middle of that, like actually do pretty well just because they can be consistent.
yeah, there's not a lot of like studs. I mean, you get lucky and grab Kevin Brown or Pedro, but a lot of
Right.
times it's just you got Dave Burba, you got this. I mean, like random dude, and he's your guy.
Right.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1999, he had 310 plate appearances with 10 doubles, 3 triples, and 14 homers.
So he was a 28 home run player. That's it.
Yeah. And this is what gets me. In 98, he had 8 triples. So I almost wonder if they factored multiple years into these
They
cards.
might have because he
And
didn't have enough.
because that's what's made me wonder about other guys too. And also, did you know he played for the Indians 3 separate times?
No.
In 2001, he played with them for 20 games. In 2002, he played with them for 51 while also going to the Yankees. And then in 2003, he played for the Indians 24 games while also going to the Yankees.
Man, they like love
What?
him and then they don't like
Yeah.
him.
But yeah, he never
That's-
really like. It's just weird. Like his career is weird, and it makes his chart really weird
Yeah.
too. Like
Well, he's
I
a
almost
fun
wonder
guy.
if they combined his 98 and 99.
I've seen people do that before, and me and Peter have talked about that with like people that get hurt. Like you could take their stats
Yeah.
from the previous year plus the second year, like total them to get
Yeah.
a much better read.
Right. I love kind of speculating on like what was in the minds of like that design room. And it was like definitely clearly like, you know, like just a group of like 3 or 4 people with maybe one baseball enthusiast that just like made these decisions. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there was anybody kind of double checking them being like, whoa. He should have a double. Like nobody was doing that.
Right.
And that's fine just because it's like it's their content. It's like however they want to create it. It's at the end of the day, it's statistical based, but it's still like creative decisions in a lot of ways, just like if they were just, you know, making, you know, magic cards or something. So it's really interesting to think of that if they took the previous seasons, because I'm
Definitely
sure
got
that
some dip in his back pocket.
Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
funny.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny for us too, because like you think of us that are making the cards. Like we have a group chat that's going off nonstop when the season ends.
Yep.
And it's like, did they like what was going on?
No, and like honestly, like kind of like Bob was saying before, like I feel like there was like one guy that was tasked with sitting by a phone, and like eventually the MLB PA would like call in and be like, "You have to make Kareem Garcia really good at triples," and he's like, "Guys, Gary, throw out your work. We have to give him 2 triples." Like I honestly, like that's like just what I'm picturing the room. It's like really not well lit, and it's like these guys just hunkered down, just making their own decisions until someone told them not to.
Right.
So, and yeah, Bob, to your point, definitely chewing his back pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a pretty badass picture from the back here, just saying.
He looks like he's about to rip this ball.
Right. He looks angry. He looks like he's about to get a triple and definitely not a double.
Next up, we got Bobby Higginson, another value 8, you know. But
Ooh.
I hate this walk range. You might like it, Jeff. But,
Ooh.
It's a lot of walks.
Talk
It's a
about
ton of
disappointment. 6 through 17, you're basically getting to first.
Oh, yeah, no, that's really bad. He has a we'll get there, but man, his 2001 card is the bomb. Should have gotten a foil, probably, in my opinion.
So Bob,
Yeah.
for walks, he had a batting average of 239 that year. His on base was 351.
Wow.
Awesome. That's so sick.
That's why his walk range is insane.
So
Dude, where was he batting? Like, I feel like with that he had to be 1, 2, or 3. Like he's not.
don't know.
low.
I don't know where they had him, but
Oh my god.
That is crazy. I mean, he had 64 walks to 90 hits on the season.
Wow.
Wow.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Dude, that's Moneyball, baby.
Yeah.
You know.
Next up, we got Todd Jones. Definitely closer bonus going on here. For
Yes.
3 control, for somehow 150 for the 1 through 16 out, but he doesn't give up any doubles.
He that doesn't seem like a terrible closer bonus.
No,
like,
I sort of
because
joke,
of the no
but
doubles.
He would, yeah. I feel like a reliever with this would be probably 130, 140. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's not great. And he's I mean, it's so funny. Like I feel like we're so skewed right now because like most of the relievers and closers we've seen are not below control 4.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like I get a control 3 and I'm like, God, move on. This is awful. And like
yeah,
this guy's actually pretty legit.
yeah, big ground ball range. He's no doubles. I mean, he's pretty solid. I don't mind him, especially for 150. But
No.
Right.
I was joking a little bit, but yeah, I like him. Next up, Gabe Kapler. So big chart is the reason he got to 310.
Huge
Plus
chart.
he plays like
Wow.
every position well and A speed. So, but yeah, big chart here.
Right, for 310. I think it's kind of another one that's
Yeah, it's right.
I don't
It's right in
I
there.
don't right. I don't see it. I mean, the 7 is the worst part, but that's not a ton of bad. 7 is manageable. Like
This
you can
dude
make
is
it work.
Super vascular right now too.
Right. Oh my God, you're totally right. What's going on? Like it's like he juiced up at the plate. You know, like unreal.
Next up, Dave. Oh man, Malicki.
Lucky.
Man,
Who-
that's a Scrabble bonus. MLICKI.
Their highest point player, just in the base set.
Oh,
Just heads
okay.
up.
So we got a starting pitcher 3, 1 through 16 out. Nothing too crazy here. Good ground ball range.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty standard.
Next up, Brian Moeller. Another 3, 1 through 16 out. Average kind of pitcher.
So I think this goes to show they have the exact same chart other than walk and single.
Yes.
So it was like a 20-point bonus for
Wow.
walk instead of
You're
two.
totally right.
And it's
That's
funny
crazy.
that you say that because I'll also tell you that also doesn't also work on a lot of things too. I literally would take cards. I'm not joking. Back in the day, and I would say, okay, this guy is the same as this guy, and it's one more single, so that's 20 points. Then I'd find 2 other players that are exactly the same, not 20 points difference.
Yep.
Like, okay, doesn't fucking make sense.
Yep, and that's how it goes. You just never know. I mean,
Yeah.
they could have made the Tigers back in 1998, and then
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
if they're-
yeah.
and then made the Giants in 1999.
Yep.
And it just we didn't even look back.
Next up, CJ Nikowski?
Nikowski, yeah,
This guy gets
legit.
picked a ton.
And
He's
here's
so
your
good.
closer
So
bonus.
yeah, this is
example.
definitely closer bonus.
'Cause it's the same chart
points
as
as Todd
Jones, but a higher control.
Higher
And-
control
and more walks.
and more, but yeah, less singles, still no doubles, and yeah, same number of outs. Good
Same on
good
base.
ground ball range as well. Closer bonus for Todd Jones.
He is so good.
But he gets
was
picked a lot. He was actually
for-
really good value.
for value. Oh, I think he's one of the best value picks maybe in the set. Honestly,
Yeah, that's a good bullpen guy.
He gets picked a
my
lot in our drafts. I like him a lot. Next up, the foil, Dean Palmer. Disappointing foil here, unless you're like a Matt Williams fan and you
Yeah.
like this huge home run range with a 7.
dude, they should have just given the foil to Kareem Garcia. What the fuck? This is such a buzzkill foil.
I
Like,
really think they were like, who the fuck do we do? Like, who in this team is getting it? They're
Oh
like,
my God.
People like Dean Palmer, right? Yeah, throw it on him.
they're like who? And like, okay, go ahead.
Well, they didn't know like Gabe Kapler and Bobby Higginson were gonna be like good. They were like,
Dude, should have given Nikowski is a better foil than this. Like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
yeah, this
Dean
was
Palmer
very
did have-
disappointing as a foil, but he had a big home run range here. I don't know what stats you looking up, Matt, for this,
38 homers,
and how
Ah.
many plate appearances?
631.
So so basically just 38.
Full
So
season,
so yeah, this just charts out because he's a 7 and he hit a pretty good amount of home runs, but. I don't really want him 1 to 3 out, but for 320, I'm not getting any defense. I'm not getting any
He-
speed.
All
He
right.
was voted a Silver Slugger that year.
Oh, at third
shit.
base.
Yeah.
That's per league, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was like Matt Williams. I feel like would have had it in like the National League or something.
Well,
or like
probably
Tatis.
Chipper or Fernando
Oh yeah,
Tatis.
yeah. I was like one of those guys. I killed it. I'm
Well, that's why
surprised.
that's why they gave it to him. Like,
But-
clearly, like
Probably,
because
yeah.
of that. Right.
I mean, I've always liked and we've played around with this. I know Matt and me have with Bradley and what about like icons like that they do
Mhm.
in the 2002 2005 sets. I know Clutch does it. I love the idea. We've definitely kept with the rookie icons. But man, I really wish there was like cool symbols that we could use and be like Silver Slugger, like MVP, like almost like the Topps rookie cards used to have.
Yeah.
Like I
They
really want things like that because I think it's really cool to see like this guy was a Silver Slugger last year. This guy was the home run leader, the strikeout leader, stuff like that, and then
right.
you could do stuff.
They figured like it seems like they figured out a lot of that, like those kind of fun things to do later on in this game, like in the 2002 through
Yeah.
2005. But like they blew up the game and kind of made it like unplayable in the way that I think we prefer it. So it's like the idea was kind of there, but I'm totally with you, man. I wish they just had those for like these cards. But
Yeah, I like them for like a visual conception. I know Clutch does a really good job with them because they have a lot of like strategy. And again, they play strategy cards, but they have a lot of cards that are like if he's a home run leader or home run icon, then he gets like a +1 bonus on the roll if it's a home run. Like it'll say something like the last fly ball out on the pitcher's range is like a single or something because he's like got like a bonus. So there's really cool stuff they do with the symbols. But I think it'd just be cool to know, like when I'm like collecting cards or looking at them, be like, oh, you remember in 2019 he was a Silver Slugger. Like it's like a real quick reference. That's all I like.
Yeah.
Next up, Jeff Weaver. He pitched for a long time.
They had a very like middle average rotation, but they were all that same card.
Yeah.
yeah, oh my gosh,
340, 330,
So is this
320.
the same guy as the other one, or do they have one more ground ball out?
They have more ground ball outs.
Okay, never mind. But again, yeah, same guy here. And then, look, before we just spoil this next card.
Woo!
So,
Woo!
okay, now we'll get into the pennant run, and we'll just go to a great card that everyone that I've seen drafts this guy. I know you want to talk about closer bonus. For only 10 more points, you get Doug Brocail. Again, a whole nother out and a control for only 10 more points than Todd Jones. But and this is why, Jeff, as people know, I make people get closers in my leagues because of this rule, or because they had the closer bonus back in the day. But obviously now when we make the cards, we don't have that bonus, so I need to get rid of that rule in my leagues. Unless we're playing 2000, then I'm going to put the closers back in no matter what. But what do you guys think of this card before Jeff loses his shit over here?
Oh man, I'm drooling over here.
I mean,
Sorry.
yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I used him. I'm pretty sure like the leagues I was in back then, I used him and Nitkowski in my bullpen.
Yeah, so that just value alone, those are fantastic middle salary kind of guys that are going to get you a ton of value in the chart. So again, Jeff's handle when I first met him.
Oh, we got to back up. So
Yeah.
buckle up. I got a story for y'all.
All
This
right.
one has multiple angles. So when I joined Bob's league, I took over a team for a team called the Butch Huskies from a buddy of mine named James Vecchio, who's been friends with Bob and my friend Kevin, who I learned to, who I knew to know Bob, and that's how I got into this. So I took over Vecchio's team. And on his team was he had a team full of sluggers and a crazy good bullpen. And he actually had Nitkowski, funny enough, and he also had Doug Brocail. So I can't explain it why, but I just gravitated towards this guy because he looks badass in this picture. He barely looks like he's giving a single fuck in this picture. That goatee
He does
is
look
just
like a total badass.
he that goatee doesn't give a fuck. Like he's the best. So I just kind of said, you know what? Like if I'm going to create a Showdown Twitter, which I did not have at that point, I said I've got to model it off of this guy. So I go ahead and I, make my name Doug. I think I made it Doug Brochill.
Yeah.
But I made my handle Doug Brocail 2000 based on this card, which is what it still is, because I had to pay homage to that. And my picture was the picture of this card, right? So then I started, I was just like doing some tweets here and there, like nothing crazy, like mostly all Showdown related. And then I think someone pulled me in because Doug Brocail is a pitching coach.
Yeah, not Gaetti, I think, who's big,
No, it was-
big on Twitter.
Right. It was someone else. It was somebody who knew him. And so Doug Brocail, the actual Doug Brocail had gotten hired by someone to be the pitching coach, and they tagged me in, and I said like, hell yeah, sounds good. Like completely innocuous, something like that. I just said like looks chill. And like the next morning, I wake up to messages from Doug Brocale's daughter telling me that I have to shut down my Twitter and stop impersonating her dad. And I actually have them open here right here. She's basically explicitly told me that I can be a parody, but it needs to be clear and obvious. So at that point I was like, shit, like I kind of just want to keep going on this one. Like, so I was just like, whoa, like this is like, I'm not meaning to like throw shade, like your dad rocks, like
Yeah, it's like we literally like this guy.
Right. I was like, no, this guy fucking rules. Like, and then she was just like, came back and was like, oh, it's okay. And then she says there was a guy who took things way too far a few years ago and was endorsing things, and we just want to make sure we don't get into a mess like that again. So I said, all like, man, that's crazy. I said he rocks. Let him know that we know he rocks. Like, I just kind of that's where we left it, right?
And
So
all of us were like, dude, do you have an inside scoop to like talk to Doug?
Like, that was like hardly the end of the story in a weird way. Like, what happened is that so I texted Bob about this that morning, said, dude, this is happening. I hit up Kevin, who knows the guy whose team I took over. And then Kevin tells me, dude, Vecchio also did that impersonation Twitter of Doug Brocale, completely unbeknownst to me. So just to be clear, I'm going to explicitly state it. 2 people who ran that Butch Huskies team also had Doug Brocale Twitters that were like slightly impersonating him on Twitter. And we did not talk about it. We didn't say we're doing this. And he was the guy that she's talking about, who's like this great buddy of mine.
And, like that guy is our buddy we didn't even know about.
Right.
Oh
He was
God.
and like apparently he was doing things like tweeting like Doug Brocale loves Tori Yimois, or like these really weird like indie artists and stuff. And like, so it's just so bizarre. This whole thing just came full circle, and I was just like, dude, like this is it's so incredible. It's like this total story that you think just would end with his daughter hitting me up, and now I follow her, and I she's super into My Chemical Romance, so I feel like I know her. But yeah, man, that's that all came from, I would say, that all came from pure admiration for this card.
Yeah.
So
At the end of the day, what was funny was that at Jeff, who just thought this card was awesome, was like just having fun and just loving on Doug and his card and what he did during the 1999 season or 2000 season of the pennant run. And it kind of escalated a little bit, but it was funny to like poke fun at Jeff a little bit, like, oh, he's about to get banned from Twitter and shit. Like,
dude, and you know what makes me think of is that if Vecchio and myself have done parody Doug Brocale Twitters, then we're probably not the only ones who have. So,
yeah, I guess we're assuming that she means Vecchio, but like she could be like Joe Schmo from like California that was being like a total dick about it.
Right. Do you think they like wake up every morning, she's checking Twitter and is like, fuck, another parody Twitter on my dad, So I eventually took it off, but I did. She asked me to update my Twitter to make it clear that it was a parody. But what did I say? I updated and said, like, this is not Doug Brocale. But if I was, like, I would be so psyched about my 2000 MLB Showdown.
I remember that.
So that was probably, Matt, that's probably when you and I, like, became friends on Twitter.
Because I remember that.
And you're probably like, why the fuck did he have to put that? Like, there it is.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly why.
I'm so glad I never heard that story till just now.
Yeah. So I've obviously known about it, and a couple people in the Discord, I've joked about it too. Like, you guys got to listen to this story. And when I did 2000 trivia on Discord, this card came up, and I was like, Jeff's Twitter handle, there's a story with this one, and someone got it, but they didn't know the story. I'm like, just wait. I guess just wait to hear this podcast.
Oh man, yeah. And I kept Thanos I kept this as my handle. I updated everything else to Thanos Snappers to kind of be consistent with my team name.
Yeah.
But I had to keep Doug Brocale 2000. I just had to do it.
Amazing.
Had to do it.
Next up, Robert Fick. Little rough here, especially with the especially if you have Brad Ausmus. I feel like it's such an upgrade.
He's more expensive.
I mean, I guess you're getting the better double range here, but it's like, how much do you value that? I'd rather value an 8 on base, in my opinion, with a better arm.
Dude, yeah, Ausmus is way better. I don't care about the chart.
Yep.
Honestly.
Next up is the pennant run that destroys this the salary here. But Juan Gonzalez gets put on the Tigers, and all of a sudden he's a fucking animal. This card is ridiculous.
Not that he wasn't an animal before.
Yeah. What was
Dude,
that?
this card's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Because he won MVP 96 and 98, I think.
was that for the Rangers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
96 and 98, he won it for the Rangers.
Doesn't he go to the Indians in like 01?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he just fucking killed it. I mean, look how a 960 through 20 is a monster. The only thing I don't like here is the +0 outfield for 520 with the 5 out range is a little rough.
He had 36 doubles and 39 homers.
Yeah, he crushed it. Yeah, he's definitely a power guy, and that's why the fly ball range is so high. I just don't want to spend I don't know. I mean, I like this card, but I just wish I got more out of it.
Yeah, without defense, it's hard to justify.
What was his non-pennant one? Didn't he have a non-pennant one?
He was a 9 with a homer at 17 for Texas.
Okay.
What
was the value?
Where do you think that came from then?
What?
Like, where do you think the extra home run? Did they just give him a pennant run boost? Like, oh, you're going to a new team, like how we do with Bryce Harper?
What Peter used to tell me, and Peter will have to chime in on this, but El Presidente of the blog, he said that sometimes they would do projected values.
Oh, okay.
For their card. But when he was with Texas, what was his points?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Because I thought that was one of the ones that had the mistake on it, but I wasn't sure.
He was 460.
Yeah, for some
reason. And it's the exact same chart, like 1 through 2 out, or 1 through 2 strikeout, 3 through 5 fly ball, 6 through 7 walk, 8 through 14 single, 15, 16 double, and then 17 through 20 homer.
Yeah, so you can see where the boost is here, or for the salary comes from the home run range. I mean, he's a powerhouse. If you're getting a 5 home run range basically there, that's a big range.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't like spending 520, and I'm not getting much on defense and speed here.
Yeah,
but
he's got to be your DH at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was like, I mean, when you look at the 2000 Tigers plus the pennants, like, where is everybody? Oh, Juan Gonzalez.
Yeah. That's like for this team, that's your middle of the order hitter now, and so you're great. Plus, you got like good defenders around him.
Yep. I mean, I've always liked Juan Gonzalez because he played for the Indians, so I was always like a big fan of his. And he crushed it when he was at the Rangers. So, but this is near the end of his career.
Right. And it's like you said, like if you're spending that, you have to have something good everywhere, and like it's hard to justify even one spot. Like his, like the defense being bad.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to have a 5 from the other 2 if you're playing him in the outfield.
Yep.
Right.
Next up, Hideo Nomo, who gets traded also here. Really fun card here because it's like the 7 IP, the 3 control, and then like 16 out, and then like 17, 18, 19, 20.
It's a weird chart.
And I loved Hideo Nomo. I actually have a Hideo Nomo Dodgers little kind of figurine here on my wall. I used to love his windup. I used to imitate it as a kid. He was awesome.
Yeah, there's a great
for 220, it's pretty good, interesting value.
Right. If you don't roll 19 or 20, it's
the only thing I don't like is the ground ball range is so low that doesn't help you.
Yeah.
Right. There's a great 30 for 30 podcast on him coming over.
Oh,
pretty
really?
Great. Highly recommend. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. I mean, he was the first, if I remember correctly. So
from Japan, I think so.
First pitcher at least, something like that.
Yeah, I
think I think he's the first to come over from the Japanese professional.
I think it's
league.
from Japan because like Chanho Park's in the set, but I think Hideo Nomo was the first from Japan
because he came over in like 94, 95 or something.
Okay.
So
and last up we got Luis Polina. Man, look at this chart.
It's so I love it.
Wow.
For 370, you got again no outfield, but you got the A speed 8. And then just no walks. So, Jeff, I don't think you like this guy.
No, I would definitely pass on him.
But look at this. From a 12 on, just stacks of...
Yeah.
I actually have never played this card, and I've never seen him played against me. So, I'd actually be fun to play this card.
With your rules, I think the 0 really makes outfielders tougher.
Yeah. I mean, it's just rough. You have to either DH this kind of guy, or... you have to get like a +3 center fielder. Like you have to make up for it somewhere.
Right. It's man, it is a really fun card though. I'm right with you.
Yeah.
Like,
I just thought I would have played him. I've never played this guy and I've never played against him.
No, you're right. And he's frowning while he's running. I don't know. I don't get it.
He must have flew out and he's just running back.
Right. This is like
the third base coach is holding him and he thought he was going home. Fuck you.
Oh man.
Right. That does wrap up our Tigers podcast, and stay tuned next for the Royals, which will be dropping on Friday. Any closing words?
Doug Brocale, baby.
Doug Brocale. All right. Thanks everybody for listening.